traditionally been perceived as frightening entities. Today in South Carolina, a different kind of spirit has long been the subject of local legend. Over the past 170 years, 5 deadly hurricanes have ripped through tiny Pawleys Island just off the South Carolina coast. Every single one of these storms has been accompanied by a local sighting of a ghost known as the Gray Man. Then a bizarre coincidence, apparently every person who has encountered this spirit has been spared from harm. Fairy tale or evidence that ghosts do exist, the record may speak for itself. The legend of the Gray Man began in the late summer of 1822. Along the dunes of a deserted beach on tiny Pawleys Island, a wealthy young planter rode with his manservant on a mission of the heart. His destination was his fiancée's plantation. The wedding was just days away. The groom was overcome with youthful emotion and impatience. By the time he could be pulled out of the marsh, it was too late. The young man was dead. At the plantation, the bride-to-be heard the tragic news.
It's James. He was fighting. He fell in the marsh. He died.
According to the legend, the girl took to wandering the shore alone, contemplating a life she no longer had reason to live. One afternoon, she discerned a shadowy form standing in the sands. That night, her betrothed whispered an urgent warning.
Flee the island. The wind is coming.
She and her parents left the next day, just before a hurricane slammed into the island. But the girl, her family, and miraculously their plantation were spared. The specter of the dead lover had voiced a warning from beyond the grave. It was not to be the last time. One of the next recorded sightings of the Gray Man took place on Pawleys Island at the turn of the century. In anticipation of an approaching hurricane, a tenant farmer was herding animals owned by a local family off the island when he encountered the Gray Man.
Hey, mister, you better follow me off the island. There's gonna be a storm tonight. I said, follow me off the island. There's gonna be a storm tonight. Are you crazy, man? Do what you want.
The following day's hurricane went right past the family's plantation, sparing it from destruction.
The property owned by that family was protected in the hurricane, which is always what happens when the Gray Man appears to someone. That was in October of 1893. But through the years, there have been numbers of different stories, often in the newspaper after a storm. And in 1954, a man who lived in Georgetown and had a summer home at Pawleys Island saw the Gray Man before Hurricane Hazel. His home was so protected that beach towels that they had left hanging on the railing of the porch were still there after the storm. Well, I was here in Hurricane Hazel, so it's very hard for me to believe that beach towels could have remained on that railing and not have been blown away, but they did. When he appears to you, you're very blessed and fortunate. Your house will be saved.
Midnight, September 22nd, 1989. After laying waste to the Caribbean, Hurricane Hugo slammed into the coast of South Carolina. Its winds ripped through the coastline at speeds in excess of 145 miles per hour. Thousands were forced to flee their homes. In South Carolina alone, there was close to $5 billion worth of damage. Over 9,000 homes were destroyed. Pawleys Island was particularly hard hit.
Well, it looked like a giant dump pile.
chairs, couches, ice boxes, all that stuff was piled up in the middle of the road. It was terrible.
That practically destroyed Paula's Island.
Amazing. Even though the entire neighborhood was destroyed, Amora's home was virtually unscathed.
As we went in, I was so happy to find everything just like I had left it.
The devastation of the rest of the homes on the island brought about local speculation as to the gray man's whereabouts. Caught up in the aftermath of the hurricane, Jim and Clara Moore had completely forgotten about a haunting encounter that occurred 2 days before Hugo struck.
Didn't think much about it until later on when the article came out in the paper. The gray man failed to appear. And then we talked about, well, we had seen him.
It's hard to walk in this land, isn't it? We were taking a walk late in the afternoon, which we usually do. And you see so many people walking on the beach at this time of the day. That particular afternoon, you only saw the one. And he was coming directly toward us. When I got within speaking distance, I decided, well, you always speak to people, whether you know them or not, so I raised my hand to say hi, or beautiful evening, or beautiful night, or whatever. And he disappeared.
Where'd he go?
I don't know how to explain it, because an eerie thing like that, you know, like, of course I didn't worry too much about it, because I was just seeing things, but I'm sure that he was there, and when I started to speak, he wasn't there, so.
I didn't know it was a gray man. I just thought it was someone on the beach until he disappeared. I can't explain how good fortune except through the presence of the gray man and the law, of course.
It is said that every legend has some basis in truth. According to the story, the gray man ended his tenure on Earth with an urgent mission unaccomplished, his great love irretrievably lost. Yet some say he unknowingly walks the sands of Pawleys Island, still searching for a woman who has been in her grave for over a century. It is somehow inspiring to contemplate a love so strong as to defy death. But if these witnesses are to be believed, then the gray man's personal tragedy has led to others' salvation. And to those whose homes and lives he has helped to save, the only real tragedy is that they cannot give the gray man a heartfelt thank you.